This is Andrew Wicklund with PRC Software, and I'm going to go over navigating the Gantt chart in Tempus the Time Bandit, our schedule risk analysis or Monte Carlo tool. So first of all, if you noticed here to the left, I am in the Gantt chart view. You'll see it's colored orange. And this is the sample project I put in earlier. So very small sample project, just enough so you can see what's going on. But you can import tens of thousands of activities. It'll do it quite happily. You just want to make sure your data is good. So from the Gantt chart view, first thing, as you look at the column headers, you'll notice you can expand and collapse those column headers. If you right click, you can also get to the column selector. So you can set up views from within this column selector. It's right here, this check mark that says select columns at the top, or you right click on the column header. You'll notice, depending on where you right click, you've got something that says task links or go to task. You click on a WBS element, you get add to uncertainty, and that'll add it straight to your uncertainty register. And you can even right click over on the Gantt chart itself on the activities, and it'll come up with the same menu options. So from within there, there's an undo and a redo button up at the top. The next two buttons are expanding and collapsing the WBS. So these four are fairly straightforward and simple. The next two are just to expand a selected WBS or collapse a selected WBS. So you can easily do that by clicking on the plus sign or the minus sign at the left-hand side as well. So from within here, one of the things I want to do, you'll notice I'm going to take and drag this back over to give myself a little bit more viewable area. And then I'm going to hit show links, and you'll notice on the right hand side here, you're going to get the links for each one of these activities. And you can see them in orange here. You can hide them, show them. Depends on how big your schedule is and how busy it is. Sometimes those get in the way, especially if it's you got a schedule that goes on to tens or hundreds of pages. Those will get a little confused in a lot of tools. Anyway, that's why you always have a good way to turn them on and off real quickly. I mentioned the column selector. So within here, all your custom fields from P6 show. So say if I want to add my distribution type, I'm going to click him up. I'm going to take my duration, move him up. Let's move, and I'll hit save and apply. And you'll notice now my type of distribution is showing as triangular on each on those. So now you can go in, you can manually add your risk values, and you can change your distribution types and all of that type of stuff. So from kind of moving forward past the column selector. Oh, on the column selector as well, just worth noting. Once I did that, you can hit apply or save and apply, or you can create an all new template. So if you had different templates, one for like, this is the one I do risk inputs on, this is the one I do my tracing of my logic on, you can do any of that. So now coming into the next one is the color palette. This shows you the color palette that will show, and you can see my WBS is purple, my tasks are green, my risks I have in red, and then my levels on the WBS I have coded in different colors as well. So that's what's going to show up in here. So I mentioned the task links before and being able to go and trace from one activity to the other. So within any of these, you've got fields that you can see in these predecessors and successors, so you can see whatever fields you want. And you'll click the update button. But if I click go to, it's going to go to that characterization activity, and you can see that selected here. So that's your links, your task links. So it allows you, it's your trace logic basically. So, and you can get to that, like I said, through a right click as well, through task links. And then once again, if I wanted to go feasibility and design, I just trace that forward. if I wanted to show more information up here in the columns, so I could, make better sense. Like if I'm tracing the logic and I need to trace it to the one with the least amount of float, you might go in and then add your float columns, etc. So anyway, so that's your task links. So now to the Gantt chart to the right hand side. Once again, you've got a zoom in and a zoom out. This will zoom in, this will zoom, or vice versa. This will zoom in, this will zoom out, and this is kind of the max zoom. If you hit the zoom to fit, it's going to try and put it so the whole thing goes inside of the viewable area. Outside of the navigation points, there's a couple things. You can group and sort just like you would in Primavera P6. So if I said, hey, I want to group it by risk level, I could go, and then it groups it back by risk level. So I've got like my low, medium, and high where they had tagged stuff, or there's a couple they tagged no risk level. If I go back to my organize, I just hit the reset button, and it's back where I was with my WBS. As I mentioned before, if you right click on something, like I'm going to add engineering, and I'll do a group for engineering, and then in the uncertainty register, it automatically shows this is what I added. 7 activities. And now my uncertainty register, instead of having to load every activity manually, I've got that engineering as a grouping of activity, and I can see how much remaining duration is there, what kind of percentages to put to it, etc. So we'll do a full tutorial on that later, but that just gives you an idea of right clicking and building an uncertainty register very quickly. You can export, and however it's sorted, so this is going to be by WBS, but if I export and I do by WBS, here's your groupings if you wanted to add any groupings. And it brings it out immediately. I'll open it in Microsoft Excel, and you'll notice you get all the same coloration. You get your distribution types. You get all of that information in here. And you can go in and you can, you can fill out your min likely maxes or your mins to maxes, whatever kind of distribution you're using. You can fill them in directly in Excel, and then all you have to do is go into this import from Excel file, find the Excel file, dump it straight in. It's quick and easy. So that gives you the ability to load in your min likely maxes or your triangular, whatever kind of distribution you're using manually via Excel. You can also come in and do it manually here by typing directly in the chart itself. So I can go in here, change this from 10 days to 13 days, and you can see it took that change in. So that's manually adding the uncertainty. We'll get into the uncertainty register later, but you'll notice, like I said, it added this engineering activity. So we've got a grouping in there if we want to use the uncertainty register. Outside of that, you can turn autosave on or off. You have to hit the save button manually if autosave is turned off. Bigger files, you might want to do that just because you make a change if it recalculates the network, etc. Then the last one is a zoom for the entire product. So if I go to 70%, you'll notice it takes the columns to the left and does it down 70%. So it's not a zoom in or out just on the Gantt chart itself. It's a zoom in or out on the entire product. So that gives you the ability, if you can't get enough columns in there, you need a little bit more viewable area, you can do that. Up at the top here, there is a search function, so I can go through, and if I hit safety, for example, you'll notice as soon as I didn't have to even hit enter, as soon as it saw it started to get it. So as soon as I hit clean, same thing. It finds the activities very, very quickly. So this gives you kind of an overview of the section in general, and then we'll go into further detail, further training tutorials on the uncertainty register and the risk events, as well as the reporting moving forward. So appreciate it. Thanks for the time.